Good evening, everybody. So we're a few minutes late just simply because my daughter picked a fantastic time to get upset. So what we're going to do, I'm aware that people who are watching this are either watching it live wanting to draw it with us, which is fantastic, or you're watching this after the fact. If you're watching this on YouTube, just be aware that anyone who comments during the live stream, you won't be able to see their comments. It's just how it works, unfortunately. There's no like cross-platform comments, I think, or at least I haven't worked it out how to do it. So in those cases, if someone writes a comment and I'm answering it and I think it needs some context, I'll give it. Okie dokie. So if you are following along, hopefully you've already got your outline. I've already get my kneadable eraser out. So I've been using this kneadable eraser to kind of dab and remove things. I recommend, if you haven't already, go to my website and download the reference picture if you haven't got the line art already. I have printed out this to sort of show you on camera. I'll do my absolute best to compare them. So you also might hear my husband. He's having a catch up with his cousins. There's going to be a bit of noise. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. But yeah, so we're just going to get started. If I'm going too fast, I apologise, but the beauty of this being video is I'll be saving it for later, so you can go backward and forward and that kind of thing. The pencil list is on my website. The outline is on my website. If you, for some reason, get frustrated with the line art, you can just do a printout and just colour it in. Yeah, so the other stuff I've already done beforehand is I've already used my seam ripper to scratch in lines. That's optional. All right, let's get started. So, Prismacolor Black. What I'm going to do with this first off is I'm going to start with the eye. This is not always how I start, but I will for this one. I'll try and keep my shadow out of the way too. So you should see that there's the outline bit. I'm just going to do the very top part. There should be 2 circles that you've drawn in, well technically 3, but 2 in the top part here. I'm going to do my absolute best to avoid that because you're going to distract me for that, Ben. So just using the Prismacolor Black to do the corner down here and the corner up here. And that's it. I'm going to swap to the Polychromo Black purely because the Prismacolor is a darker black. Okay, I've got the tips on these super sharp as well.
So I have a health buff.
I'm going to try not to be distracted from my husband. Baby strapped to him because he's got a health buff. Okay. Alright, so these 2 circles I've drawn in.
10 movement plus 5.
You're going to distract.
I don't do fire.
Sorry, guys. So 2 circles here, draw around them, and then that way you can avoid colouring them in. Okay, so I'm using little circle motions and very light pressure. Yeah, husband's on baby duty, so I apologise, guys. You're going to hear this. So I've used light pressure and little circles. Now I'm using the Prismacolor Black again to come in over that a bit darker. Just in between where those circles are left white. So do your absolute best to avoid actually filling them in. And I'm just filling in up to that edge. So far it should look a bit like this. Hi, Andrea. Now down here, this is where we're going to have a bit of colour. So I'm using the Polychromo Black again because that's softer. And I'm using little circle motions and light pressure. Now I'm going to get the tip of the Polychromo just to outline, kind of draw another line on the inner side. So I'm kind of leaving it a bit blank there. You'll see why I do that in a second. Now firmer pressure with the Polychromo, and I'm going to connect these 2 darker patches. Circle motions, and then just sort of fill it in, but I'm using lighter pressure than I did up here for the Prismacolor because I want to colour it in with another colour in a second. Now, so you should have 3 vacant spots. There's a spot here, and a spot in the lower left corner. I'm now going to I'm going to colour in around that. If you kind of go over the edges, don't panic, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to do here is just get curved edges to the eye, because even though the eyes are dark, we want the eyes to look glossy and round, and this is how we achieve that. So you're working in circle motions. Now I'm going to get the tip of that polychromo again and just outline just this line up like this around the top of the eye and then around the bottom of the eye, but I'm going to fill that in. Use the tip again just to outline that bottom little ring. And then we're going to come up. So at this point we're curving, but when you get to this point you go straight up. Okay. And then you twist out. So hopefully it looks similar to this, but don't panic if it's not exact. You really just want variable shades of darkness from light black to like a deep, rich kind of a black. Now lightly connect that line up there. Cool, so that's what it's looked like so far. Now, depending on what your background is going to be, I highly recommend you use this now to do the reflections. If you're going to have green grass, get a green, put a bit of green in there. If you're going to have a sunset, put some oranges, yellows, whatever the colours are. So for me, in the list that I gave you, I just included the sky blue. So for me, I'm just going to put the sky blue on the top like this. I'm still not colouring in these white bits. I'm just putting the sky blue here. And that's it. And then I'm going to fill it in on... So we've got 3 vacant spots here. 1, 2, 3. Lower left one, I'm going to fill in with that sky blue. Just the lower left one. The other 2 I'm going to leave blank. Okay, so it should look like that. Like I said though, depending on what your background is, you can go nuts and put other colours over where the grey bit is. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the brown. So you just need a dark brown. For you guys in the pencil list, I said burnt umber. And that's going to go on the very bottom. Just here. Okay, so it's just this little patch on the bottom of the eye. So it looks like a lot of work just for a small section of eye that you might think is just all dark, but that's going to play tricks on the viewer. Okay, so now the bottom bits here, you should have 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, with 2 white lines kind of in the middle. You get your burnt umber, and just using a light pressure, fill them in. Now, using a heavier pressure, you just refill it, trace in that bottom line. And then this section here, I fill it in a darker again. Okay, and that's it. So you've got the medium pressure here, that will fade out. Now, I'm going to swap to a grey. So now I'm going to swap to the cold grey 4 and start where it's dark. Don't go, so if you draw like a crosshatch across the eye, don't go any higher than here. So push up and stop. Okay? So start where it's dark and push up. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Annette.
I have to be
warm grey 3.
Downwind, but downwind is the way it faces me.
Yeah, I apologise. We've got 2 separate things going on in the same room, so I hope you guys can still hear me. Okay. Top right here. It's another reason I didn't want to do this as a paid one, because it's not fair if people are paying money for something that might be a bit difficult to hear.
No.
Yeah, so now I'm getting the black top right corner and just filling in. Now, if you think that this line here is too straight, like I think this is a bit too vertical, just get probably the Prismacolor, because the Prismacolor is more waxy.
Shh, don't give me away.
And I'm just going to round that out just a little bit. Don't go too carried away. Okay? Alright, we're going to come back to that eye later if we need to. Okay? Alright. Now, over here, you might have to speak a bit quieter, Ben. Sorry. Yeah, and the babies. We have some nights where the baby's fine, but yeah. So Prismacolor, you should have an outline for the eye. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we can get through this. So there's an outline here. Just go around that circle for the eye. Now, from the top of the eye and the bottom of the eye, go to about middle. I think I drew it on the outline for you guys, and there's this little section that looks like a triangle. What you're going to do, outline that triangle, go down, like that. Yeah, you might need to... sorry guys. What I might do you reckon I swap an eye taker and see if that helps?
Sorry?
We'll just try and swap. Alright, 2-second break guys. We're going to try and swap babies and see if she is quieter with me.
Does she want to feed halfway through?
No, she doesn't want to feed because I gave her a feed. So let's see if she's quieter with me. Because I think people are hard to hear me. That's okay. Yep. All right, Mummy's got the baby now. All right, let's see if she's quieter on me now. So, what I was saying, top of the eye, bottom of the eye, draw like a little triangle in here. Now, go slightly diagonal. You're not going completely horizontal, just a little bit down. And what you're doing is you're drawing in this section here. Oh, beautiful, okay. And we're just going to very lightly with the black fill that bottom in. She's actually super quiet now that I'm holding her, so hopefully she's quieter and it's easier for you guys to hear me. Okay, we're doing this medium pressure because then we have the freedom to colour over it if we feel like we need to. Bless you. Okay, so we're going to start the middle of that, push up. Okay, now this is going to be a section where it doesn't really matter if you don't follow me 100%. We just want variable amount of colour in here at the moment. Hey Curtis. Now, so what I'm going to do, because there's bits of reflections and stuff, I'm going to start in the very middle. I'm going to draw a little upside down, like a V shape like that, connect it to here, and I'm just going to go dark. This is the Prismacolor Black I'm using. I'm going to get the Polychromo Black and fill everything out lightly. Okay, now with the tip, I'm going to come up and connect to the top of that eye. Draw like a little triangle. And then we're going to use those other colours, okay? So just like we did over here. That's okay. Yeah, so get the brown again, because I'm going to do brown mostly down here, and let's be honest, the floor is mostly brown. Colour that in. Now again, for me, for you guys, like I said, I put the sky blue in your colour list, so sky blue, and then I'm going to put that at the top. Leave little bits blank for the reflection, but I'm putting a little bit here. And just, there's literally, if you don't do it exactly how I do it, don't really worry. It's this variation in colour, which is what makes the eyeball look. I'm just swapping between the cold grey 6 and the cold grey 3. So just keep swapping those like different browns and greys in, and have fun with it. Just make sure you leave a couple of reflections in the top area here. Okay, and just don't be afraid if it doesn't look exactly like what I'm doing. Okay, and like I said, if you've got background colours, if you've got a sunset grass or yellow grass, green grass, whatever the colour is, get that colour and then just add a little bit into that eye, and that's how you get that reflection. Yeah, no stress, Sue. I'll catch you later. So this section here, which we left a bit blank, what we're going to do, connect that. So what I've done is I've just drawn a little line to leave this like pale section. And then I'm going to get this Polychromo Black, and I'm just going to fill that in, connect it up, but I'm going to leave this kind of a medium pressure. Then this is Warm Grey 3. Warm Grey 3s, just fill half of it on the left, but leave the other half blank. Get the Warm, what's this, Warm Grey 2. Alright, Bobby's going to be chatty, I hope you guys can hear me. Okay, so hopefully it looks something like that. Like I said, if I went a bit fast for you and it doesn't look like 100% like that, don't stress. I'm getting the Prismacolor Black now just to neaten these lines up. This will be the part we go slowest on for a while, okay? The nose and the paws will go slow again, but the rest of it we're about to go a bit quicker. So, this is what we're now going to do. You're going to get the Warm Grey 3. We're going to just outline the contour lines and then literally fill the whole thing in. Once we fill the whole thing in, you'll be able to have the freedom to go quicker. So what I'm going to get you to do, very lightly, draw the middle of the face. If you're using my outline that already has the contour lines, you can just colour into those lines. But this is like a kind of an in-between freehand demonstration here. Now, you're going to draw very faintly across the top. Now you're going to draw a circle here, which is a little bit off to the side of here, and you're going to draw a little circle here. It doesn't have to be super big. These are just to guide you when you're shading the rest in. Now, you've got the nose here, so midway between here and the bottom of the eyes, so middle of that is about here, you're going to draw it like this. I hope that makes sense. So, all of in here is now going to be shaded very lightly with this Warm Grey 3. Now for me, I've already used my seam unpicker to scratch in the fur lines. Okay, Don't worry, like, hopefully you've drawn that cross very lightly, but if you went a bit heavier than you thought you should have, don't stress, because you're going to be filling in so many fur details that it doesn't really matter. Just very lightly fill in just this bottom half. Kind of, you can go straight up to the eyes, but if you do, make sure you go light. Yes, 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 you're very noisy tonight. Now, you're going to swap out for a light brown. Okay, so for you guys, the light brown I recommended was brown ochre for this. I've tried to keep the list, I guess, like not too many things in the list, so it's a bit cheaper if you're buying the pencils brand new. And you're just filling out pretty much the forehead using this. Fill it down about halfway what you've already done with the grey, and come up. This is to give a bit of variation in the colours. So the circles that you drew just above the eyes, just for the moment, avoid them. You will be pushing in again later. Yeah, hi baby. Okay, now what you're going to do is where the ears come up, pretend that there's like a faint line. So when I drew that cross down, normally when I'm doing it, I just do it in my head, but for you guys, just so you can actually see where I'm looking, about here, we're just going to shade up to about there on the ears. And we're pretty much going to fill out the whole forehead. Okay, go right to the edges of the forehead. Go to where the ear starts here, just go vertically down and just fill in about there. So again, I'm drawing these lines in more for your benefit, but there's that, the reason you don't see them on my normal works is I just kind of do it in my head and then stop. Alright, so we've gone to about this tip. Now, where you've drawn that circle, kind of go out diagonally till you get to the tip of this corner of this ear. Alright, I'm going to put the baby on the ground. She probably should go to bed, but she is way too awake right now, so... Okay, I'm going to shade this bit in. Alright, so hopefully it looks a little bit like this now. It's probably still a bit faint, so what I'm going to do, we're going to go a bit darker so you guys have a clearer idea of what we're doing. So I'm going to get you to get burnt umber again. And we're just going to do the corners of the nose and we'll fill out up, and then we'll come back, we'll meet up again with the forehead. So, if you're using my outline, I've already drawn that for you. Yes! Sing us the song of your people. Alright, I'm just filling in. Emily! You're so loud! I'm trying to do a tutorial and you picked tonight to not want to go to sleep.
I can press buttons on the end.
Jeez. Okay, so burnt umber, just follow these lines. This is a medium pressure, it's not super dark. Now I'm doing actually a really light pressure just around the bottom of the mouth here. Okay. Now I'm going to go up, very light pressure, just use like little circles. Okay, and we're just going to fill in. There should be a line, rough line that I've drawn. Yes! You are so noisy. Okay. Yeah, definitely. She's just having a great time. Okay, so just really circle light pressure motions up to here. And I'm just going to fill it out. When you get to here, the cheek, go a little bit darker, but use circle motions again because you're going to be flicking out the hairs, okay? Yeah. Yeah, this is a reason I don't do... This is a... Oh my goodness! This is a reason I don't do paid tutorials just yet. It's not fair, I think, to be taking money when things are so unpredictable. So I'm using medium to firm pressure. Okay, so medium to firm pressure. I'm just coming in up against the eye. I'm going to fill in... Now, to make sure we don't go too close, just get your pencil and just draw like a little line around like that. And then like draw a little triangle here. We're just trying to like leave space where the greys are going to be. Okay, so little circles. We'll fill that in. Okay. Now, you've already done the burnt umber up here. Sorry, the raw ochre, brown ochre. going to get the brown ochre again. Fill that in a bit more. Now, that where you drew that circle, on the right-hand side of that circle, just go left to right and just fill it in just a little bit. Medium pressure. I wonder if I put this on YouTube and if YouTube tries to give subtitles to watch his babble. Oh my goodness. Alright, where you did the other circle over here, if you've just joined us, you're going to be having commentary for 10 months old at the same time. So the second circle, we're going to fill that in with the burnt umber as well. Now, middle of the forehead, you're going to do little circle motions. And we're going to do like a half U shape. Now, this is where we're just going to be doing, you're going to be rotating, repeating different colours. So, circle motions with the burnt umber coming up.
What's demolish again?
And then we're going to push down a bit. So, you got this kind of V shape that you drew earlier.
That's right.
Push down into that. Now, you're going to get the pencil and you're going to actually, now we're going to start doing some of the texture. So, flicking in kind of the direction that the fur's going, which is up the forehead. Okay. Now, if you've used the seam ripper to indent into the paper, you're going to get more texture. Basically, it's only optional, you don't have to do it. Now we're going to swap to, what's this? Cold Grey 6. Alright, circle motions.
So are you guys happy with the base?
I'm going to go round and round and round.
I had to use.
Okay, and I'm pushing out horizontally until I meet the edge of the cheek. I'm using medium pressure at this point simply because I'm going to be blending it with the darker brown. Okay, so I just am looking at my reference. I'm going to start coming around the eyes. So use circle motions. Yes, I know. Press a little bit harder on this side and then push your way out to blend it. So push a bit firmer and then you're blending out. So push firm and then blend out. Now here, up, down, I'm going to use the Polychromo Black, but I'm going to use no more than medium pressure. Just at the top, so we're doing this eye bit here. Okay. Nah, no stress, Kylie. I'll catch you another time. That way you'll be able to probably rewind the video as well. Okay, so I'm swapping between the Polychromo Black and this grey. Then I'm going to push that out. So what I'm now going to do, you're now going to start using probably firmer pressure, and we're going to start doing the outside of this eye and pushing out. These are the sections that are going to be working quite slowly, and then once we do the rest of the coat, we should be able to work a lot faster. So firm pressure, it's kind of like a triangle going down. You can probably see where the fur marking is.
I was just going to cut a trouble to just pass it for me.
Ah, Emily. I appreciate you guys still following along. I hear grunting. Is that a poo? Alright, so we're still just using firm pressure. I'm just kind of filling in these. So now what we're going to do is you've got like a triangle shape. The fur kind of comes out like this. So what we're going to do, get a lighter grey. So here I've got the warm grey 3. Come from the middle of the nose and push it out horizontally. Not too far. And then we'll just try and come back later. Yeah. To about here. Circle motions. Okay. And then we're going to start filling out this side. So it pushes out like this. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just sort of like going up and just trying to fill in this part of the cheek and then connect. I'm going to probably fill this part in. So get the, which one is this one? Cold Grey 4. Alright, darker brown. Alright, pushing up again. So this edge of the profile of the face, you can now flick out with these little hairs. Just very lightly, don't get too carried away and press dark. You want to go firm and then flick up and then lose the pressure as you're flicking up. Alright. Now, get the Polychromo Black because it's the opaque, not opaque, sorry, it's the translucent black. And this section here, you're just going to do like a border of black, just here. Just there, and then stop. And then what you're going to do is get the brown again. And then you're going to blend that in. The reason you wanted that black is it gives kind of like the contour line of how the fur goes around that side of the cheek. Whereas up here, it's not as dark, not as black, because it's fluffier and it fluffs out a little bit. Okay. Now you can see the scratch lines are still there. So now we're going to push down around this side of the cheek. So, oh my goodness, burnt umber. We come down.
Yeah, she's not going to go, she's just like...
This is why I didn't do it as a paid tutorial. It's not fair to make people to pay and then...
You have to pre-do them at night.
Pretty much. If I'm going to do it live, it's not fair to charge because it's unpredictable. Okay, so we got the burnt umber. We're going to come back down again. So now we're going to come, you should have already done the grey to about midway down the nose. We're now going to come about again midway from what you've already done. So very light with the burnt umber because we want to go over it with pink.
It was a vegan, mate.
I'm going to come up. Okay. Make a triangle. Make sure you leave this bit a bit kind of blank. And then really just fade it out to here because that's this side's where the light's coming from. Okay, we need the grey again. Okay, Bubby. And then you go cold grey 4 is this one. Push down. So you've got the grey that you've already done and you're pushing down south on that.
Don't look at...
No, these are all polychromos.
Don't look at
But most pencil brands have burnt umber. Like burnt umber as an actual colour is something that's in...
Please don't check my sources. They just tomato and barbecue.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, burnt umber is common in a lot of different brands of pencil. So... that's another reason I chose that one. Same with brown ochre is another common generic pencil colour. It's just that all of these are polychromos with the exception of the Prismacolor. Yes, Emily! I knew our track record of having her go to bed on time was due to expire.
She's got a good taste in music and she'll go from Lamb of God and she loves it. And she's
like, so, here... center of the... oh my goodness, it's so loud.
Grace Kelly or something. Doing like a TikTok thing of it.
I'll tell you why. It's because I put effort into trying to make sure this tutorial went smoothly, and of course it doesn't go smoothly. Alright, so up here there's that sort of triangle thing. You want to leave a space here because there's just skin. And you just do little circles. Go around the eye, around that little like triangle thing here. Now, this is the corner of the cheek. Go up. And you're just going to do little circles, medium pressure, down. Now here, you've already drawn that part in, hopefully. So now you're going to connect that like this. So I'm just doing it like connect the dots for you sort of thing. I'm just kind of drawing the connection areas. Yeah, exactly. Put effort into a tutorial, like as in the prep work. And that has to be the night that she's deciding not to cooperate. Oh, yeah? So with these circles I'm doing, I'm actually leaving areas blank, more for texture. Okay, so this section I've now done, I'm going to do the little flicks like this. Okay, and when you get up to that eye, just do like a semicircle kind of around the eye. And then do little circles here. Okay, I'm going to move that out just a little bit. Now come back to the top of the eye, like this, and we're just going to flick out, like the light. Yes, yes, oh my goodness, you're so noisy. And then we flick up. Now same thing, just go around the eye again, do little circles on that top section. Okay, just little circles just to kind of shade in around that bit. Now we're going to get the pink. Now I've got two pinks that I'm using that I've recommended. The two pinks are the Polychromo Light Flesh 132, and I'm glad it's seen as cute, thanks Kate. And then that's the cinnamon 189. So we're going to call this the dark pink and the light pink, especially if you guys aren't using polychromos. So I get the dark pink, which is the cinnamon, starting firm pressure at the very tip of the nose, and I'm going to push up to medium pressure, and I'm going to use circles. I'm going to colour this entire area in pink, with the exception, I'm just going to draw like a little triangle about there, or a circle about there, and then a bigger circle about here, because on the outside of that big circle I'm going to use the medium pressure with the cinnamon, and push up. Just colour the whole mouth, we'll worry about the shading later, so fill in the whole thing with medium pressure, just doing little circles. Push it up a little bit into where you've done the grey, but not too far up. And then bottom jaw, or bottom lip I should say. And then push it up. So there should be a line you should have already had drawn in. When you get to about here, what I want you to do is just stop. I'm going to get the grey. So I'm going to use the warm grey 3. And what you're going to do is leave a space. You want about like a white line kind of outline left here. I'll show you what I mean. So you've got the outline here. I'll do it a bit darker, about there. You're going to leave a space that's kind of white, and you're going to just colour in here, leaving that white space, and you'll see why in a moment. Okay. Oh, she's found the wrap, so she's a bit quieter now. Alright, I'm going to push into the middle. So stop. So yeah, you have the white line coming from about here, but when you get down to the bottom of the lip, and you can go back to the middle, half of the lip on the bottom half is the grey, and then fade it into the pink again. Then you're going to get the light pink. Start firm at the top and work your way down to medium into the grey, and then do the same thing over here. Okay, same thing over here, and then I'm going to get the grey again, this time a bit darker because it's on the darker side of the face. So this is the cold grey 4. So just draw a little bit in the tip. And go to here, so you're going to draw side to side, fill in that entire lip part in the middle, push the colour out a bit. If it looks too cool, get your burnt umber again, draw a line in the middle. So you can see I'm doing it a little bit darker than what she has, but you can do it as light or dark as you like. Get the grey, pink again. Now remember how you did the circle here and the circle here? You're using light pink now. Because you did the medium, the darker pink here, go over it again, but with light pink this time. That's going to blend the colour. When you get over here where you've done those circles, do light pressure in the bigger circle and completely leave it blank in this middle bit, just for the moment. Okay, that's going to be the highlight, so just leave that blank for the moment. Okay, now you're going to fill the rest of this out in medium pressure. Up like this, go all the way up. Okay. Alright, now in this brown area you're still going to fill it in because the animal's got very sparse fur, so the skin's going to show up through that. This is how you're also going to make skin, this is how you draw an animal as well that has patchy fur. So because the fur, it's not as dense around the nose, this is me showing you how to do that. Your circle colours, circle movements. Alright, now we're going to get a warm grey 3, and you're going to push down again with a firm kind of pressure. Push down, swap to the burnt umber again. Okay, now here you're going to go from the tip of the eye, and you're going to go down here in circle motions. Okay, push down. And we're now going to fill this whole thing in, but you're going to vary. Oh, don't worry, Melissa, you just missed a lot of baby babble and screaming. It wasn't the smoothest start to a tutorial. Just start from where we are here at the moment, Melissa. You can always go back, okay? And then we're going to go out here. We're now just going to do those circle motions, but you're not going to do it uniform. I want you to go from medium, and then you go left again, then go light pressure, then go medium pressure. Just keep varying the pressure as you're moving the pencil around. Vary that pressure. Don't do it the same. Because you've already got these base layers of colour, and this is now just kind of sealing it and giving that variation. The variation is what helps things look realistic or not. Okay. Alright, so this is the corner of the nose. Bring it down. So you just keep moving the pencil around and just keep filling it in slowly. There's this line here. And push it out. Okay, so you see the hairs that I've already scratched in with the seam ripper. Now I'm getting the pencil and I'm just going to flick
I'm doing a crit.
this. Where the lines are scratched in pretty deep, you have to press pretty hard to fill them in.
Come on, come out here.
But again, it's that variation is what helps make it realistic. Now, I'm going to get the Prismacolor Black. This section here, we're going to have to fill over again to make it a bit darker, now that we're happy with where things are. This is that little triangle that we drew before.
Get the hell out of here.
And then we push down like this, little flicks. Make sure you leave that bit here, the outline here, kind of empty. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now just come back, use the Prismacolor Black to kind of make a decision if you need to darken any sections. If they look a bit washed out. Okay. I'm going to flick. Yeah, she's found some wipes, so she's just entertaining herself with that. And I'm going to come up and flick. I'm using little flicking motions now and just be really kind of conservative with where you're flicking. And here's a few more little flicks. Now, because this is a black, you don't want to get carried away, so I'm just doing a few little bits up around here, and that's it. Oh, that's okay. Now, this is the grey. This is the cold grey 6. Same thing. So I've gone from the black to a grey, flicking out. You might want to do zigzag motions. It's up to you. Now, here, you can see where the scratches are still pretty white. I want to fill some of them in. So you fill the tooth in by pressing a bit firmer. I use zigzag motions, and you go around. Like, don't just do them really close together. You want to, like, kind of leave gaps. Okay? And I'll keep checking the fur. Push down in here. Okie dokie. So I'm going to push up again. And I'm just leaving some gaps and filling some of it in. Now, we're going to fill this section in. So very lightly with that cold grey 6. Fill the whole thing in. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, here where you had the dark bit. Press pretty firm in some sections, and then you can see I'm now doing my zigzags.
But there is a little one skeleton.
Okay, so zigzags. It's a bit darker up around the eye, but yeah, it's just I'm using literally zigzag kind of motions, and then once we fill more colour in over the top, it's going to blend things a bit more. Can you get out of there? Excuse me. Wait. Okay. And you can see it slowly coming together. Okay, then we push down. Ah, ba, ba, ba. Okay. Alright, so still doing the zigzag kind of motions. It's kind of like if you've ever seen like a greyhound where they've got the tiger stripe kind of pattern. I'm kind of doing that. Okay, so you can do flicks, you can do the little zigzag colorings, whatever you do, as long as you stay in this center bit for the moment, and then we'll push out to where the other part of the eye is. Okay, we might do that now actually. So we're going to get the warm grey, warm grey 2. Okay. Little circle motions. Sorry, I was a bit distracted for a second. Bobby was trying to head off my lap. Okay, little circle motions with the warm grey 2.
One certainly cool.
Okay, circles.
Success.
Now we're going to go down the middle of the nose again. Okay, so this is going to actually just take that extra redness off the nose, off the pink. Okay, now we probably should do this section down here before we move on. So cool grey 4. Gotta remember which ones I told you guys to use. Yes. So noisy. Okay, so push up here. So this was the grey that we did earlier where you left that kind of white space. Do little circles just to remind yourself it's there. Do little circles with this grey just along that line. So basically it's going to have fur that flicks out here, kind of like whiskers. So just really lightly put them in now so you don't forget. Actually, to play it safe for you guys, we might actually do a little bit of the front legs just so that we don't accidentally go over them. So I'm just doing little circle motions with the cold grey 4. We'll do the same over here. So little circle motions, because he's got whiskers that kind of come out a bit like Chopper kind of thing. Okay, now circle motions and flicks, very light pressure. So on this side here, that lip, kind of go to about middle. And then just stop. That's it, just little tiny bits. Now, this is the cold grey 6. Now, remember how I said to leave that bit white? This is why. Now, very lightly fill in this bit here. Emily! My goodness, girl. Now, I don't know if you can see, but you can sort of now start to see where I did my seam ripper debossing. So for the whiskers here, making sure you don't go over that white bit, you pull down to make sure that you sort of colour in around them. Okay, and then there should be, I've flicked out around the legs, so I've done these. You are so noisy. Okay. Because then that way you get this like cross-directional hairs going on. Okay, and then we can just leave it and come back to it later without accidentally filling it in.
She's playing with the cords with the computer right now.
Oh.
And look at her smiling. Like.
Okay, so I'm just pushing it down. So this is just me making sure that I don't accidentally fill it in. So that white line I said to leave. Okay.
There's my guitar amp just running between our two computers, and she just likes mouthing.
So I'm just very lightly pressure because the legs are so wiry with their hair. Okay, we flick. I'm just using little flicking motions just to remind me where that line is, so that if you do get some tunnel vision going on, you don't accidentally fill over a section that shouldn't be filled in. So very light flicks. Down here, this part of the leg, I'll just do that dark bit over here now. So, same thing, just do little flicks for the moment. They'll remind you where the hairs are. Okay. Little flicks here. Alright, now we can come back to the face, and we're not going to run the risk of accidentally, coming down here when we shouldn't. So, grab your pink. This is the light pink, so this is the 132 Polychromo, which is light flesh. And we're just going to colour the cheeks in completely pink. Okay, because the fur is a bit sparse over here, bits of skin is going to show through, so this will be the bits of skin. So just a little patch on here on the cheeks. This bit should be a little bit blank. Okay, so you should have a bit of that brown you did under the eye a bit earlier. So now you're going to push down with the warm grey 3. So start with little circles where that brown section already is, and push that down into where the pink goes. Okay, and then do little circles along that cheek line. Now where you've done these circles, you're going to flick out with the pencil like this.
Yeah, okay. There too.
More circles and just kind of loop them up to here. So yeah, like I said, the face is going to be the bit that we work the slowest on, and then the whole back will just, you'll be crazy quick how quickly we patch that through.
Nah.
Okay, we're going to do the contours of the jaw coming down now.
I'm still having my armor on.
Okay. I'm going to come up to here. We're going to now have to darken this section. So to darken it, because it's fur, grab your cold grey 4 and then just flick. Little flicking motions. I'll try and keep my hand off the reference for you. Okay. If you haven't already, and you're watching this after the fact or even watching it live with me now, go to the website and just download the outline, and then that way you can join in and you can either draw along with me, or you can just do the printout and just do it like a colour in. It's up to you. Okay, so now I'm just doing little circle motions with this cold grey 4. So I'm looking here on the face and just trying to copy them in. So there's like little blotches kind of on the nose, and now I'm just trying to like draw them in a little bit, and I'm not pressing too hard because they're not too obvious over here. Alright, now I'm going to grab the ivory, okay, and I'm going to use that to blend on the nose. So pressing a little bit firmer. Now that section that I said to leave blank before, we're going to push in with the ivory. Still leave it blank in the middle, because what will happen is we'll play it by ear a bit later and see if we need to glaze over it or not. Probably will, but for the moment it's safer just to leave it blank as a highlight. So using the ivory just to press a bit firmer. Now come in with your burnt umber again, and we're going to do little flicks. Go in all sorts of random directions, mostly up and down. Okay. Okay. Now it's got little blotches and little markings on the nose, so this is your time to do that. So this is where we're going to grab the Caput Mortem Violet. Okay. Now where I've done the dark bit here with the burnt umber, you're going to very carefully push it up into the pink, just to make it so it blurs a little bit, but not too much. Okay, just to give it a little bit of a blur. I'm going to use it probably to make it a very light shadow. Okay. What are you doing? Oh, you're playing with the chair. Okay. Alright, so here there's now going to be a vertical line going up. I'm using very light pressure because I'm playing it by ear to kind of see how this, I don't want this colour looking too red. So I'm just putting this in just to kind of mix things up. Now the top of the nose, little circle motions, really light pressure. Okay, and then over here, really light pressure. Alright, now I'm going to swap it back out for the burnt umber again. Now very carefully, I'm just going to do her little marking here. Okay, might need to blur it again. So to blur it, you just do very light little circles around that marking. So again, I'm doing a little dot here and then circles around to blur it. Here, circle around to blur it. And then where you want it to be fainter, you just do like a light to medium pressure. You'd be amazed what your brain can already detect. You don't need to worry about going too hard. Don't need the markings to be perfectly spot on. Obviously, if I'm drawing someone's pet or an animal that's supposed to be identified, then yeah, you want it as spot on as possible. But if you're not that fast, don't stress if you're not getting it too spot on. Okay, and she's pretty much, her nose is mostly done. We'll come back in at the very end to see if we need to glaze over it. Okay, so now we're going to pretty much do the whole area with the warm grey too. Still leave this bit white. You're just going to come down to about here. So remember how you've left that whisker area there. I'm going to pretty much glaze over the whole thing with a medium to light pressure. Alright, now she's blurting. Fill in up here where the eye is. Use firmer pressure about here. Wherever you see the darker sections, go over it with firmer pressure. And wherever you're going over it light, use medium pressure. Yeah, and use circular motions are kind of the safer way of getting the pigment into the paper, because it means you're accessing all directions of the tooth of the paper. So circle motions, and I'm still using medium pressure. Now I'm going a bit firmer because I'm coming up to where there's more pigment, and then I'm going lighter again. So we'll do up here. I'll fill in a bit more down here first. Okay. Fill in around where we've done that space around the eye. Because now we're going to push the greys in. So we've left it kind of blank. We're now going to push them in. So, cold grey 4. Alright. Probably going to... This section comes out a bit more. So this comes out a bit more. So I'm going to push this out just a little bit more just to correct what I've already done. Okay. I don't really try to do it like a perfect carbon copy, but I try to get it as close as I can. Right, I'm just doing little flicks with the burnt umber now. Now circle motions again, just coming in around the eye to the cold grey 4. So you can see she's coming together, okay? Now here we're going to do the cold grey 4 again. It's medium pressure all the way out to the edge. And then come down. Now leave this section, but you're going to use the that grey to go all the way down the cheek. Okay. Use flicking motions to connect where you've already shaded.
Do I go? I'm going to guess.
Okay. Now we're going to try and take a step back a little bit. We've been sort of zoning in. We've still got a lot of areas to fix up, but we're now going to try and do a lot more larger spaces. Okay, so we're going to focus on the top of the ears, and then we can connect a lot of these areas. So for here up in the ears, we're going to get the brown ochre to do the outlines. So just outline using circle motions into here, and you're trying to avoid that major outline because you're going to be flicking it out with fur in just a second.
Found the first
okay, so pretty much fill the entire ear in, very light pressure with this with the brown ochre. Okay.
Oh, stones, yeah, that's right.
And then you go down here, then light pressure. So this section here that's in the middle, do light pressure. Because what I'm going to get you to do now is you get the cream. Okay, the cream in the poly, so this is cream polychromo. Push down, and you're going to push in like this. This is still light pressure.
Hopefully don't die.
Now this is where you get the orange, if you guys are wondering why the orange was in here. So this is orange glaze. Very light. This is going to just get that warmth, and so you've got the whole triangle of the ear here. don't do it in the bottom section, you're just doing it in the top section because the sunlight goes through it, lots of blood vessels in the ear, and so it'll kind of make it glow. So over here, same thing, but you're just going to do it in that top section. Now I'm going to do the cream as a base layer for that, and that way the orange glaze won't kind of overpower it too much. So the cream goes in first. Well, might as well do the whole thing. Okay, that kind of gives it like a kind of a main surface to grip on. Okay, orange glaze very, very lightly. Okay, alrighty. Just that tip, because that's just where the sunlight's going to hit it. Bless you. Okay, so you got the brown ochre. Don't even joke. Alright, so then come up. Okay, so now we've got the tip of that ear we want to keep blank. So we're just going to go on the outside again. Okay, I'm just going to do the entire outline because the back is going to be so much darker it doesn't really matter. It's going to be darker than this ochre, so that's just making sure I don't go too far. Now, using circular motions, little tiny circle motions with light pressure, start in the middle. So this point and this point start in the middle. Push your way up. You push your way all the way up to about here. And I'm using super light pressure. Okay. Pushing in. Now here there's like a semicircle. So again, little light pressures, little circles going in like this. Alright, and then that pushes up. Now, this is where you don't, again, need to be super worried if you get a little bit off. If you're worried that someone who's like a marsupial idea or a macropod expert is going to come and identify, then yeah, maybe you can worry about it, but in general, don't stress too much if the inside of the ear is not looking too right. Okay. So little circle motions. I'm now just kind of filling in those dark areas. So just do your best to try and match it to the what the photo shows. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm going to get the burnt umber. Again, a very light thing, just doing circles. That just connects it. Now to here, it's kind of wispy. So again, circles on the outside of the fur coat. I'm doing circles and light pressure because I'll be using flicking motions in a moment for the fur. And this is again just to, you don't want to do like a straight line because straight lines, when you do try to like fill them in, they can look too harsh and actually be quite difficult to fill in. So I'm doing little circle motions. As I come up, I'm actually flicking now, just to make it a bit easier for me to blend it later. And then up here, again, circle motions. This is purely for me to darken this space. So it's just easier to know where I'm up to. Okay, so now we're going to come back over here. So this corner to here, so pretty much this part of the forehead is actually quite dark. There's a light section here we need to remind ourselves is here. But we're now going to do circle motions. Because we did the underlayer in the brown ochre, we're doing the burnt umber can be done over the top. So start off with medium firm pressure on the side of the face. You can flick out like this. Okay, flicking out a little bit more for the ears. The ears come out just a little bit more. Now, before you get to the edges here, there's something to consider. You have to consider your background. If you are doing a dark background, you do the background first and my tactic is I do the background first and use the seam ripper edges for the lighter highlights. Or if you're doing a darker background, you flick out with the burnt umber. I haven't honestly decided which one I'm doing yet, so I'm playing it safe and going to get the warm grey too. I'm going to do circles and do flicks out like this. And then I'm free to come back later and I can decide if I'm going to do dark or light. And it still isn't too bad. Okay, so I'm doing the inside of the ear now. Burnt umber. Okay. And then flicking down. See, now I'm going to do light pressure again. Now this is where again you're going to see where all of the scratches I did in the paper come through from the seam ripper. And again, I'm not, because I came in earlier with the brown ochre, I'm not filling the whole thing in
It's me,
with the burnt umber, because the burnt umber will kind of give that variation in colour. Okay, so light pressure now up to here, and just fill the whole head in now. And then we're going to come over the top again to fill the gaps in.
Remember, there's no I in team if there is an achievement.
Okay, so little circles here, and then we're going to flick up for those hairs. Okay, little circle motions here. Now we're going to fill in this bit here with the pink. So get the cinnamon out, or whatever dark pink that you're using. Go light pressure, leave the top bit here blank, because that's a highlight. Medium pressure, and then connect. Then connect the two bits.
Yeah, the one that's, where is it?
And then go down here.
Yeah, right, you're on you there.
Okay, and push down. Swap to the brown ochre now, because what you're going to do, Ben, noise. Your volume's gone up again. That's alright. Yeah, so the brown ochre, you're going to medium pressure and then push that down. Yeah, sorry, it's just a bit hard for me to think sometimes. And then connect the dots. Okay, so now you're going to get the cream again. Are you trying to climb up here, are you, Bobby? You need to go to bed. Okay. Alright, so I'm just using the cream now to kind of blend things a little bit more. Yeah, I am. So the list of pencils are on my website. There's a couple of posts I've done a bit further below on the Facebook page if you're on there that have the list as well. I think one of the last posts I did a link to the website, like directly linking to the tutorial page if you want to grab that. And then I'll upload this video to YouTube and then link that to the website as well. Because obviously it's probably a bit difficult for some people to follow along with some of the interruptions and stuff, but that's fine. You can just, no big deal. You just go backward and forward and hopefully it works out for you. So yeah, I'm just using the burnt umber now to do little squiggles, and that gives that variation in colour. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
Like a third down icon.
Okay, so I'm pressing a little bit firmer now. I need to do the middle of the forehead, so we're going to press a lot firmer.
Remember what I said?
But again, I'm not doing it consistent. I'm sort of moving the pencil around a fair bit. Okay.
Ooh. Okay, and I'm going to have to shoot it for a while.
Okay, and then I'm leaving the very, very top more, like, not as dark.
Yeah, I've just been fire damaging.
And then go to the corner, flick up and out. I'm using that circle. Anytime I want to blend, I'm using that circle motion to go from the lights to dark, so it's an even transition. Yeah, no stress.
Yeah, that was because I accidentally picked that up from my last
I'm not too sure if I can link it to
over.
you. Yeah, if you just have a look at one of the other posts, I think my last post I linked, I put the link.
That's why I dumped it.
Pretty sure I put the link in the comments in the last post.
Actually, I suppose you can keep. I don't think I can use.
Yep, so just burnt umber right now. Just keep moving the pencil around. Okay, so we're going to the top of the eye over here now, so get the grey again. So this is Cold Grey 6. Okay.
Got like the down to half.
Push out. Give her some, even though they're not eyelashes, but I'm going to call them eyelashes. Just flick the pencil out as if it were eyelashes. Okay, when you come up to this part of the eye, just left and right, very light pressure, and you're going to blur this grey into the browns, like that. Now you can now see the scratches. They're still quite bright, so what we now need to do is we need to get the greys in and blend them out a little bit more. So I'm going to start rotating through them. Okay, so you do, again, the zigzaggy kind of colours. Someone's trying to grab my shirt and climb up. Okay. Alright, now we're going to get to the slightly lighter grey, which is, you okay, puppy? Okay. Number 4. Now I'm actually pressing pretty firm now, because what I'm now trying to do... Oh my goodness! Yes, I see you there. And I push them up like this, because now I'm actually trying to push into some of these lines. Leave some of these blank. Okay, but the dark side of the face, we want to actually we want to cover the lines in. So get the dark one again. Okay, I'm actually pressing pretty firm, but again, I'm not doing a smooth transition.
Yes.
So I'm not covering it like the entire thing, giving it full coverage. It's like I'm still leaving patches, and those patches is what you're seeing with all the fur that's here.
Sweet.
So I'm kind of going up, down, up, down, up, down, like zigzaggy kind of thing. Oh yeah, it's like she picked the one night to not go down. Like she kicked off probably 5 minutes before I was due to start this stream. So hubby put her in the sling to try and keep her settled, and it wasn't working. When you go back to the start of this video, you'll hear her. She was not settling, so mid-stream we just swapped her over, and hubby gave her to me because she kept trying to like reach out to me. All right, so what I've been doing is we've got the grey, and I'm just moving around trying to fill in. So you saw those really obvious scratches, and you can still see some of them. I'm just moving the grey around just to kind of burnish in certain areas so that you're not having these like really hyper deep scratches just everywhere. Okay, now I'm doing flicking motions with the same grey for darker fur details. So the scratches give the highlights, but we now need to give the darker bits. So I'm just flicking the pencil. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that. Alrighty. Yeah. We're going to come back to the face. We're going to now do a bit more around here because it's going to be a lot quicker now. So we'll do the foot and then fold the paper a little bit just so you guys can see. So fold that piece of paper to about here. We're just going to do this foot now. Okay. Polychromo Black. Polychromo Black is a lot more translucent, so we're just going to do the outline around the big claw. So these guys are basically they're similar to the same family as like a kangaroo or a potoroo.
Sorry, my thing broke.
Okay. Okay. Now coming out in the reference photo, she's on like a towel. I'm going to draw her as though she's on like
I'm gonna go back
dirt.
To base because I'm pretty sure a little child has just done a poo.
Oh, has she? All right, you're on poo duty.
I can smell something.
And she's come over to you, so someone's done a poop. Okay, so the claw is, the little claw here is very similar to this, just obviously miniature. So come down. The reason I'm doing black on this section here is because that's going to be shadow. So don't do, I can still do it on the top, but yeah, this entire area is more shadow, so I'm not going to stress too much about having a black outline. It's not going to look like a cartoon. Now, on the outline I've drawn for you guys, I've done this to look like grass, so it's completely up to you. Completely up to you if you want to do that as grass. If you don't want any grass here, just draw it along here, and that's just where her butt is, and just fill that in if you don't want grass. I'm probably still going to keep it, so I'm just going to leave it blank. Now, this won't be in your pencil. Oh, geez, sorry guys. This isn't going to be in your pencil list, because it's just something that you can choose to do if you want to do grass or dirt. So I'm just going to put a little bit of green there to remind me for later.
Is the inventory full?
But you can just do anything you want. Like I said, you can fill that in. You can have her with a sunset. You can have her in, you know, daylight. Completely up to you how you draw it. I'm just drawing her actual image for this tutorial, and I'll do the background off camera because we probably will run out of time. Alright, so we're going to do around her butt, and so far it's completely polychromos because this is all going to be in shadow.
All that pressure.
Awesome, thanks Curtis, legend. Okay, so just going to very lightly fill the whole shadow area in.
Remember, son.
Okay.
You're not first or last.
Alright, so just very lightly filling this in around her tail. Her tail is a little bit like a rat's. I know some macropod experts would be upset with me for saying that, but it's very long and thin. It's not like a kangaroo's.
I just couldn't quite perform on the moment.
So she's got really lots of fur coming out like this.
Stage fright.
Something's hilarious over there on the other computer. Okay, so we're just going to fill in the shadow part now. Wherever you've got contact, contact with the ground, I'll quickly show you with my hand. when you press down low, the shadow is darker and thinner. The higher up you come, the further the shadow, the deeper the shadow is going to get, and also the lighter it's going to get. I know this is artificial light, but that's basically how it works. And here's the exact same thing. So very dark and thin where there's contact. The foot comes up a little bit here, so you're going to make the shadow a little bit wider here, but thinner down here. And then same down here. Contact is down here.
Yeah.
And then it comes up just a little bit here, but not so much. Okay. And then what you're going to do is push it out with a medium pressure, which you'll then blur out for the rest of the ground. Okay. Now she has an ankle here, which is not in the reference photo, but I'll just talk you through it. So if you want to draw her ankle in, just draw a little semicircle there. And this is just going to hint at the contours. The rest of it's just going to be fur, so just do a little tiny dark patch there, and that's it. That's just going to give a little bit of a hint of an ankle for you. Now we're going to come up into here. Okay, I'm just going to do little flicks to kind of remind myself where the edges of the fur are. Come here.
Yeah, we all just get some.
Alright, so we come to about here. I'm going a bit firmer because this is under her body, so it's relatively dark. But here's the tip. It's not going to be super, super dark. So we're using the Polychromo, medium pressure, little circles to keep it like a smooth consistency.
Yeah.
To here.
Yeah, it's just wood and stone, isn't it?
So you can do this as deep as you like, but I'm going to do it to about here.
Oh, I dropped
okay,
like,
and then this section's going to be like ridiculously dark. And then that way you're going to have this two-toned effect of shadow, which is a lot more realistic when you're looking underneath an animal's body. It means that it's in shadow, but some light's getting through to here, but there's pretty much no light getting into here. So this is the Prismacolor Black. It's a much darker black. Now, because there's fur here, I'm flicking up. Okay, flicking to make sure I don't just get like a straight line. And then little circle motions. If you've used something to deboss, flick down and then flick up. And if you see any of those deboss lines, just colour around them.
But I was trying to say not to make a tiny bit of armour.
Okay, and you can fill them in later. Okay, now I'm going to get the, where is it? This is the burnt umber. I'm using medium pressure. And this just adds a bit of colour so it doesn't look too grayscale. Circle motions. Polychromo Black again because it's more opaque. You start firm where the Prismacolor Black was and you push your way down. Okay, and you're releasing the pressure as you go down. So it starts off like the deep, dark pressure. Push down. Now to blend this all out, this might sound a bit funny, but I'm going to use the pink. Circle motions. Push all the way out. This is just a burnish. Pressing pretty firm. Flick up. Now, you're going to push up even higher into where the fur layer is. To do that, you use a grey. So, cold grey 4, flick up. Because all of this is going to be like fur. So, you're just flicking up to blend these colours. Anywhere that you've used debossing as the technique, you push up like this. Okay. Now we're going to come around the side here. To do that, we use the Polychromo Black. And very light pressure in the direction of the fur. Go down like this. Okay. The shoulder blades kind of come up about here. There's also a white section about there. Roughly there. So we're just going to avoid that area just for the moment. So just colour around it really softly with the Polychromo. I'm using this more so as well so I can see where I've done debossed my lines. So very light colour, light pressure.
I used a few too.
Okay, pushing down. If you've come back, if you've gone away and come back, I've just drawn a little circle here to not go over this area. So I'm avoiding this area just temporarily because it's going to be it's a paler area. And I'm just filling in very lightly around where the Polychromo Black is. Okay. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of those underlaying colours in. So this is the cream. And this entire section here is going to be cream. There's like a base layer. Okay. This might sound a little bit silly, but up here is going to be blue in just a moment. Because the undercoat has an almost blue, like it's a grey and that's a white, but it has almost a blue kind of colour look to it, especially in comparison to the reddier colour up here. So very, very light blue, which is the sky blue, which is in the list that I have recommended for you guys. Very, very faint sky blue and a little bit more on the butt over here. So this would be the knee up here. That's the equivalent of the knee. So the animal's knee's here. That's the equivalent. Oh, sorry, I just realised the camera's not showing up here. I'm going to pull the camera out just so you can see a bit more.
What axe are you using?
There you go.
I'm using a club.
So up here is the knee. That's the ankle. Hips are down here. Okay. Sorry, I just looked at my camera and realised that you guys weren't even seeing what I was trying to explain to you. Apologies for that. Yeah, so back to the black again. Now what we're going to do is flicking motion. So I've drawn in where I want to have my grass showing later. Okay, just drawing around it.
Yeah, that ship sailed now.
So now I'm going to have to do really dark around here. Just going to draw around her tail. Like this.
I think anyone who's still got bone mash.
And then what I'm going to do is come down. So at the moment what I'm doing is I'm really putting the base tones in. Okay. So up here is going to be really, really dark, like almost like there's a shadow going this way. So this is the Prismacolor Black again, simply because you can see that it's a really, really dark black. It's a really nice black to use as an actual black. Derwent Drawing Ivory Black is also very good to use, but I don't find it has a nice point to it. But then I've heard some people feel that this doesn't get a nice point to it. Yeah, I guess each to their own. Alright, so I'm just going to fill this in. And then we're going to do the rest of the back and see how much we can get done there. Alright, push that up. Okay. So I'm using it pretty dark. Okay, and then as I come to about this point, it's going to be medium pressure, so it's all really dark to about there. And then I'll use medium pressure, and then I'll start blending it with some other colours, and then it will get like that way you're going to get like a smooth transition away. Oh yeah, if you do get little flicks of pigment, I blow. I know some people have a brush, but I don't flick like that because then you run the risk of flicking your pigment across the paper, and you don't want that. So now I'm using medium pressure.
I was gonna go hunt one.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I come back up over here, I twist the pencil to get the sharp point.
You haven't killed a troll?
And then you go up over here. Alrighty. Into here. So this is black polychromo again.
I'm going to add to the V collection.
So at the moment I'm sort of shading in the direction that the fur direction roughly is. Okay. And I'm just sort of, like I said before, I'm just blocking in the rough direction of where the skin, the fur tones and colours are at the moment, and then we'll colour the rest in. Alright, we'll go back to the foot. So, this, just a few little dark bits. Now, little circle motions, and you're going to leave a space between here and here. Just a little space, and that's for the reflection of the skin, because the skin is going to have a very subtle, light little reflection. Now, it doesn't have that in the reference photo, because the photo was not taken outside at night. It was taken, looks like it's taken indoors with artificial lighting, so the lighting's going to change just a little bit, but not a heap. Okay, so I'm just having a little gap there. Now up over here, I'm going to again flick, little flicking motions to show where the foot goes in underneath the fur. Flick, flick, flick. Alright, I'm going to come in with it just a moment with the pink. Do the light pink first around the toe, the main toe, and then we're going to do the rest of it in the darker pink. So this is the light flesh. Coming up around here.
Yeah. I'll just put the box up. Stuff it. I'm just going to go straight to troll.
And then push that out to cinnamon. And again, this is still medium pressure, and then what I'll do is I'll use the greys and everything to kind of darken it a bit. This is like a base layer. If you're trying to use something like printing paper, this is where it might struggle a little bit, because I'm using this as a base layer and then I'm going to be using the greys and stuff over the top. Okay, and then yeah, but printing paper may not work as well. This is where the more professional papers assist you. Yeah, no stress, but thank you for joining in. So this is going to be well, this is recorded, and it'll go on my website and it will be on YouTube. Yeah, you can tell from the distractions we've had this evening. That's why I'm not yet doing paid formal ones. I've had people ask me to do them a bit more regularly and paid ones, but until baby's a little bit older, I'm not risking it, because the risk of interruptions is just a bit too much.
Leather straps.
Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so now you should have filled in pretty much the whole thing. Now you're going to come again with the lighter pink, pressing a bit firmer, but not too firm, because you still want tooth for the greys to come in on the top. And we're just using circle motions just to fill in a bit more of the tooth. Okay.
I'm going to go...
Alright, now we're going to do these claws, or these toenails, I should say.
Look, here's some...
Okay, so it's not in the reference, but we're going to do it on this. So draw a little line, like draw like a long oval on the top of that claw, and draw another long oval on the top of this claw. Okay, very light or medium to light pressure, cold grey 6.
Does that mean we've got 3 that we needed?
Okay. And then here. Alright. And then we're going to do a bit firmer pressure. I'm leaving like a little gap just here. If you've accidentally already coloured in, don't stress. But whenever you're doing reflective surfaces, you want to leave like a small little gap for reflections. So the ground will bounce up and reflect in the base of the claw, for instance. The more reflective the surface is, the more that reflection... Yes! The shinier something is... Oh my goodness, you don't want me telling people how reflections work, do you? But yeah, more shiny something is, more reflective something is, the more you're going to get reflections. Okay. But yeah, don't stress if you didn't do that. And then you can always push in. So now I've got the black polychromo and I'm pushing it down. Okay. Leave a little gap around the toe. Yes. Okay, pushing up. I'm going to do little flicking motions up because it's all hair up here.
I don't want to break this back before I get to the crits.
So, do an outline along the toe like this.
Too many.
Okay. There we go. Alrighty. So, here's the nail. I'm drawing like a bit of a darker bit here, trying to draw in a bit of a shadow. Yes. Yeah, you. You picked of all the nights to play up, you picked tonight, didn't you? Okay, so... Da 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 da. Ba ba ba. Okay, so now, I was just sort of doing little bits around the claws here. So now we're going to get the greys in. Okay, so starting off with the cold grey 6, start around the darkest sections. So under the heel here. Circle motions. Remember that little section I said that's where the bone is for the heel? It's kind of that bony bit that you've got in your heel. So you want to leave that circle bit kind of, you know, lighter. Because that's where that's going to hint where that bone is for the heel. Okay, so start on the base. And then, so you start off pressing hard, like firm, and then you ease the pressure the more up you go. Okay. Same thing. So here you do firmer pressure at the base of the toe, and then push it up, but go lighter pressure as you get to the top of the toe. Okay. Alrighty, so down. So I'm going to do flicking motions anywhere that there's hair. here, you do that transition as a flick, and then you can push with circle motions into the rest of it.
Max kind of think it was a stupid idea to run up here at night.
And then circle motions again. I'm actually pressing relatively firm here. Now, I'm going to fill this in eventually, but I still want to get most of the tones in first with these greys, and then I can push them in.
Yeah,
okay.
like considering I actually haven't made armor.
Okay, so we're pushing like this.
Back to hold, make it all.
Alright, so again, firm pressure, and then I'm easing the pressure up as I come up along the toe, and then I'm going to draw fur in just a moment. This is again just us working on the tones. Okay, I'm hoping I can get most of this done tonight with you guys.
Also, I can clear my inventory
So I
now.
put down, I think 10:30 is the finish time. We might get most of it done by then. At least enough for you to sort of hopefully feel more comfortable to finish the rest of it off. And you can, again, do the background literally however you feel like. Okay, we've done the slow bits, the face and the feet, really. Yeah, they've got big feet. What are you doing? Alright, someone's found the book that we have here. It's just a cheap little book and she's ripping it up. Fantastic. Alright, so they've got like little hairs on the feet like this. So I'm just going to do little flicks. Little flicks of grey. Okay. Circle motions for down here. Pushing up. I've left that little line around the toe here. Okay. And then pushing up again. Again, so like I said, anywhere that you're down low, you press firm, and as you're getting up, you press lighter, and then that's how you're going to get that like transition in there. Nah, it's literally like one of those old, like 50-cent lined sort of books. It's a spiral bound book. It's what we do writing with our eldest in it. Except the baby's now found it and thinks it's great to rip apart.
I don't know if I can explain much more than that.
But it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. Alright, so now I've swapped to the light pink. I'm just going to go in a little bit darker, just on this section here. I'm going to leave this bit light because the sunlight would be hitting that. If you want to be doing this in like broad daylight, you could even put a bit of the cream there. It's completely up to you on how you're doing your background. So yeah. Alright, so now we're going to be doing a different grey. So we're going to come in again, warm grey 2. Relatively firm pressure over the rest of the foot that we've just done. Okay, now we're going to fill this line in now. Because remember, this is still kind of in shadow, but now we've done the rest of it. Swap again. This is the cold grey 4. What have you got now? Still got your sister's chair. Okay. And we're just now filling it in. Alright, still using circle kind of motions. And again, firm where you're at the base, and then go medium pressure as you push your way up. There you go. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to like do little flicks of fur. So little flicks of fur. Just flicking the fur. Where it gets darker, get a black. So swap from grey to black where you need it to get darker. If the Polychromo is not cutting it, use the Prismacolor. Okay. Because yeah, the Polychromo is a more translucent black. Okay, I'm just doing little circle motions just to fill this in.
We're going to do a crypt, Dave.
Okay. Now we're going to do up here now around the foot. So there's the toes. You probably can't see it on my drawing. I'm just going to fold mine out. So he's kind of got the toes curled a little bit. So understanding what's going on here hopefully will make it easier for you. So I might just do it with the grey actually. So grab your grab the warm grey 3. Okay. Now you're going to have the main claws here, another claw there,
Surprise, surprise.
and then the pinky's kind of curling. So you come in like this, and then you're going to have the 2 digits here. Yeah, hi you.
I think I'm probably the real sparse
And then
amounts
here.
because everyone else.
Alright, this bit here is going to be really fine, like fur. We're going to do the super long fur down here. So, flicking motions. Actually, we might go a bit darker. Let's do this a bit more aggressively. So, circle motions with the cold grey 6. Just along here. Okay.
Ooh, leather scraps and flint.
And then we go along here.
Yeah, boy.
And then we go that way. Okay, so again, same as over here, you go dark where there's close contact and you push out lighter as it pushes further away. Now here there's long fur, so you want to be flicking, using a flicking motion. Don't just draw a line, do like a flicking motion to make that divide. Here it's going to be more shadow because it's in between, it's got the animal's head coming down. So here she's also curling her fingers. So here's one digit. And the claw, you're just going to see the top, that's just the top of the claw. You don't actually see the whole claw because she's curling her fingers. And then you just see again, see just the tip of it. Okay. And again, same thing. The digits are fine, like a really fine fur there. And then you're going to have the longer fur. So very, very fine. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Does Daddy need to change your nappy?
I'm going to run light.
Mummy will change your nappy after this.
I can carry tin and stuff back too.
Do you actually need it, or do you just want cuddles? Alrighty, so I'm just going to really lightly fill in. Hang on, but I'll just grab the baby. Okay, come on. Come up here. Alright, let's get that grey. So we're just going to fill in between here. Okay. Alright, and then we come in the middle here. Yeah, she really is. She is not settling. She kind of went to bed at like 7:30 and I thought fantastic, and then she decided to wake up, no kidding, like 5 minutes before the stream was due to start. And I just couldn't get her to settle. So that's another reason the stream was a few minutes late. I was really trying to get her to settle. Yeah, Daddy, when you have a chance and you're safe, you might have to check her nappy when you're able to.
Alright. We'll get to the crib and then I'm going to wait for a second.
Okay.
I think I'm going to change that nappy.
Yep, thank you. Because, yeah, I think you're right. I think she's, yeah. Alright, so I'm just filling in between here.
I think I've been to this one.
Okay, I'm going to get the, oh, actually we'll go a bit darker again. So, cold grey 4. Now we're just going to try and lightly blend in. Blend the whole, pretty much do the whole thing, because this is in shadow, so don't be afraid if you go a bit too dark. But yeah, lightly cold grey 4, whole way around. Okay. Then flick. Bit firmer pressure, do the firmer pressure up around here, and then you flick out. Get the darker again. Right, we need to go darker, so Polychromo Black because we need to go a bit darker. Now, remember that light bit I said on the base of the lip? Make sure you don't accidentally go over that white bit of the lip. Anywhere that you've got whiskers, also make sure you don't accidentally colour the whiskers in. So just very carefully go around them. Okay. The whiskers are going to continue down, so just very carefully fill around them. Okay. And then you can see here, we drew that line out because we also don't want to go up too high. We want to keep the darkness underneath that because the whiskers kind of come out. So that's another reason we did that earlier on, just so we have like a guideline to not go too far over that. Okay, push out. And then, yeah, so I'm using the Polychromo Black just again because it's not as dark as the Prismacolor. I would have to go very, very light if I was using the Prismacolor. And it wouldn't blend as well. Like, the Polychromo does a better job blending. Now here you can see the lines are really bright where I've done the debossing. So I'm going to get, this is the Cold Grey 4, and I'm just using the tip to fill the debossed lines in. Just at the top bit. Just so they're not as harsh, really. Okay, now I'm going to go fill in under the mouth again. So again, on this side, make sure you leave like a little white kind of section here as well. just on this bit here. And then you push down. I'm using circular motions again. And then on this side, then flick, use flicking motions to push out.
Nice.
Okay, and then we're going to get the warm grey too.
I got one back at base. Yeah.
Alrighty. Now over here, because there's long fur and then short fur, there's going to be a bit of a shadow of that long fur over the shorter fur. So you do a couple of long lines there. Swap with the cold grey 4 again.
Yeah,
and then
doing
just
like
flick.
multiple people with like, yeah, the staggering and everything.
Okay, and then you're going to have like a dark section, a dark line there. So Polychromo Black, just little flicks. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to just really faintly draw this in. This will be background, but I'm just really faintly doing this for later. But I won't go too much because that'll be, I think backgrounds are an off-camera thing because you can do them however you choose to do them. But it just means that I'll do little flicking in bits because it's kind of shadow. Okay.
Yes.
Just hang on a second, guys. I'm just going to plug my phone in while I'm recording. So the camera's going to move just a little bit. There we go. Alright, now for the paws, we're going to add a little bit of the light pink. Okay, because what that's going to do is not just look grey. So a little bit of pink on the top knuckle here, inside the toe here, a little bit up here. Now over here, same thing, a little bit there, a little bit there. What's she doing over there? And then here. Alright, now we're going to do the claws. So grab your burnt umber. Okay, and then down here.
I'm going to go back inside because I go change a nappy. And then I'll come back out.
Okay, so I'm just outlining the claws now. Okay, just got to be really careful. So there's another thin one here. So they should have 4. So there's 2 long ones in the middle and then 2 on either side that they're still long, but they're not as long. Okay, we're going to outline that. There you go. Okay. Now circle motions and then push up. So now what we're going to do is use the base layer, put base layers in. So get the ivory, Polychromo ivory, colour the claws in. And then colour these claws in, just might as well get them out of the way. Now get your warm grey 3. And what you're going to do is you're going to leave the centre part of the claw mostly vacant of pigment. And just do little circular motions around the outside of each claw. And then push your way in as you need to go in. Okay, this claw you can fill the whole thing in because it's a bit more in shadow. And the same thing up here gets a bit more in shadow. So the 2 outer claws, you can get away with that. This claw, it's this part down here you leave vacant. So tip of it, fill it in. Top of it, fill it in. And then like a little bit on the inside, fill in. But leave these bits kind of blank. Now that you've done that, get the ivory. And just, if you need to blend it a bit more, push it around with the ivory. Now this is where you're going to get the kind of dirty look to it and the more natural kind of look to it. So this is the cold grey 6 and we're just kind of doing our best to copy what we can see in that reference. Okay, so I'm using little squiggly line kind of motions and circular motions to push it around. I'm thinking while I'm doing it I need a little bit darker, so we're going to go Polychromo Black because it needs to be darker. So the centre between the 2 digits in the middle, they're the darker bits, so start there and just go a little bit in the middle. Okay, you don't need to go too much. You don't want it to look like a cartoon. Okay. We do little circles. This is the brown burnt umber now, the darker brown. Okay, and I'm just looking between here and the reference. I'll put it back up here if anyone wants to see. Okay, then we push that down. Push it up. So we're just going to do our best to kind of copy it a little bit. Yeah, a bit more pink. And yeah, you don't need to match it. You don't have to match it absolutely exact to this. You can have a little bit of artistic license with it, so you can make it more pink or more grey if you wish. And here, push this up, and I'm going to use little flicking motions. Push the grey up. Okay, so it's a bit more grey around here. All right. Pushing it down. So remember, it's got thin. She's got thin fur on, like, right on her digits, and then she's got this lovely long coat, which we'll kind of fill in right now. Just do some long strokes like this, and make them kind of, they're going down, but make them sort of messy. Okay, and we'll go up a bit here. So yeah, if you haven't got it already, make sure you, if you've just joined us or something, the reference is on my website. It's also in one of the posts here on Facebook. If you scroll a bit further down, you'll see a post with the reference in there. Okay, we push down.
Stay here for a second.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know. Oh, she's actually quiet. He put her in the cot, which normally... Oh, there she goes. Okay, so yeah, we're just moving around looking at the reference. I'm making it a little bit darker under, like on this arm compared to the picture, but it's my artistic license. So here again, you can see where the indented lines are very crisp, and I'm going to fill them in.
Yes.
So you just play it by ear with how much you need to fill it in. All right, we're going to get the cold grey 2, warm grey 2. Fill the entire arm in. Shade the whole thing in like this. Okay. Now this area that we left kind of blank, what we're going to do is get brown. We are going to come back down here. Don't worry, we're going to come back, but we're going to fill a bit more of this in. So this is the burnt umber. We're coming back up around the neck, and we're just going to fill the whole thing in. We're going to leave a section up here. I'll try and push her down just a bit. There you go. So around here, we're going to leave that a bit blank. We're going to fill in around here. So very lightly get the burnt umber and just fill the whole thing in. Doesn't matter which direction you go in at the moment because it's just a base layer. I mean, technically you really should go in the direction of the fur, but I don't really stress myself too much for base layers. Okay, so base layer, push in all around. Okay, just fill the whole thing in.
I ran out before I got my resting buff, but all about that.
Okay. So yeah, just very lightly, you're filling the whole back in now. So leave this section for the moment, you're just filling in the belly. Yeah, hi. You need to go to bed. Okay, so hopefully doing this. Whoopsie daisy. Don't you touch that.
Who's back at base at the moment?
How are we all going so far?
Someone needs to do like the wood runs.
At the moment it's just a matter of just using light pressure, fill the whole thing in.
Yes.
How are we going? For anyone who's following along, how are we going? Okay, so these are just base layers. You can go a little bit firmer in some areas where if you look at the reference, if you can see the areas that are a bit darker, like there's a line going along here and a bit there and a bit up here where the ear is, then yeah, you can press a little bit firmer. That'll also help remind you where those dark sections are.
Yeah, like 30
but it's completely up to you.
Yeah, 30 stamina.
Okay, so yeah, fill the whole thing in.
I've been doing that.
And then we'll worry about it, the rest of it later. Yeah, no stress. I know some people are just watching and they'll follow along later.
I'm running and like all of a sudden scalp now know where to go.
Okay.
You missed that. Oh, it's a 1 star.
Yeah, so
Basic maneuvers.
still filling it all in. And then yeah, you can see, this is what I said at the very start, how like the head's the slower section that's a bit more time consuming because you don't fill it in as quick. And then the back, you kind of just, all of a sudden the back's now there. Okay. All right, back part, we're going to do the butt now. So there's a triangle, I'll show you what I mean. There's this triangle of fur here. So for this triangle of fur, just draw it in like that, just very roughly. Roughly draw this in. So at the moment you're just kind of blocking in with the pencil. Oh, I keep saying the word roughly, but roughly where the dark patches are. And then same thing, put the whole thing in with the colour. Don't stress too much about it looking grainy at the moment because that's going to be corrected very, very quickly. Okay, what are you doing? Just, if anything moves, she is fascinated. If anyone's just joined us, we have a 10-month-old baby who's refusing to go to sleep and decided to pick tonight, the night that I'm wanting to do this tutorial with everybody, as the night she wants to run amok.
Where's the pigs?
Alright, so we've almost finished this back part in. Yeah, hi. Thanks, Andrew. Oh, actually, I don't know if you're able to. Are you able to give us any updates on Daisy? Is she still in care? Has she been released? Do you know? If you don't know, that's okay. What? Oh, hang on, I'll see if I hold you and that makes it any better. If you try to grab the camera, we can't have that now. Alright.
Has anyone built a raft?
Okay, so I was going to have the grass here and here. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit darker now. So basically the back half here is a bit darker. She's got like a rough... About here, keep that relatively...
yeah, but you can have it...
don't do that as dark here. Okay, and we're going to go a bit darker up here. Now, for the sections I'm now filling in a bit darker, it's the same technique I was doing for the face. So I do little zigzags with alternating pressure, and that's how I get my quick look of fur. Okay. All right, I'm going to put you down. You are way too... This is not working. Not working at all. All right. Okay, we're going to do the belly. And so I'll do the belly in a second. We'll finish the back bit up. I'll tell you what, I was going to draw the grass in here. I'm just going to draw over it. We're not going to do grass. I've changed my mind. Just draw over it. Most of my drawings end up like, I'll keep changing my mind what I'm doing and where and all that kind of thing.
That's because it was thin enough to walk to the wall.
Oh, okay, so she's 8 months old. She's very, very cute. Alright. So this is the, I think I said it just then, the cold grey 2, if anyone's interested. Okay, we're going to go a bit darker now. So Polychromo Black, and we're just going to shade in a bit more. And you should be able to start seeing, if you've been scratching in the detail, the hair detail with it, if you've been doing the debossing technique, you'll see the hairs start to show up when you're doing the shading. So in that situation, I'm just going to put the Prismacolor Black in to do this shadow. Now that I'm not drawing her in the grass. So Prismacolor Black, like I said before, is a much darker black, so I use that for proper shadows.
Wait, I've been harvesting all the tin one here.
Okay, alright. Polychromo Black again. Push that up. But yeah, what I was saying is the if you've been doing the debossing technique, you'll start to see that pushing up now. And you'll see them start to appear. So there'll be certain areas that you want to draw around them and not, you want to be filling them. In some areas you'll be filling them in other areas you'll be drawing around them. It depends on what you personally have done with how you prepared for this. So I'm doing a combination of just shading in with the the Polychromo Black and like flicking motions. Okay. Alright, so I push down. And then I'll be going over it again with, to add warmth to it, I'll be using the brown ochre. And then to tone things down, I'll be using the grey. Yeah, no, of course you can. Yeah. like I said, this was the only, like, I still was highly doubtful I could get it. Someone was like, had a lot of people asking for like a 1 hour tutorial, and I'm just like, I don't think that's possible. And then people were saying 2 hour tutorial, and I thought, well, 2 hours is more doable, but I was still doubtful I could. And this was the only one that, me looking, like eyeballing it, that I thought has got any chance of us getting a decent amount done in 2 hours. So I'm thinking that this is more just showing you some techniques, and then you can sort of work on her kind of in your own time, because I'll keep working on it. I mean, I scheduled it for 2 hours. We're coming up to, it's 10:20 now, so we've been going for an hour 40. Okay, so now swapping to the Cold Grey 4.
Next to where I'm mining, and I just build the stuff there.
There was also a bit of a miscommunication with hubby and I, because I guess I just didn't assume that he, you know, he obviously has his own plans, so he's planned to have a session with his cousins and catch up with them. So there was the expectation they had of meeting up with him, which is why he's playing at the moment. But yeah, it's not fair for me to ask him not to do it, the same as it's not fair for him to ask me not to do this. So we're both doing it. So hopefully you guys aren't too distracted. It is what it is, and that's another reason I've said a few times during the stream that I'm not charging for tutorials at the moment. Things are just way too up in the air with what's going on at the moment. Alright, so what you can see me doing now is I'm using the brown ochre just to warm this area up a little bit. And then I'm going to come in with the warm grey to kind of like mellow it out. So I'm doing strokes, mixture of strokes and circles.
Not wrong.
Okay, strokes and circles. Mix this all through. There we go. So now this is just adding a bit of extra warmth, extra colour to the coat before we do the extra details and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so I'm pushing this up into here. So yeah, this is that little triangle I drew, that we drew, I guess, if you're doing it too. Okay, so I'm pushing a little bit firmer. Now, where I see that I've got these debossed lines, I'm drawing around them. Down here, I'll start to shade them in. So I'm going a little bit darker. Keep it PG, Ben.
I know, that's right.
I know, you've been pretty good tonight. I don't want to get demonetized. Actually, I think I already have lost my monetization on YouTube just because I haven't been, I haven't really been posting much. It's only recently I got back into posting on YouTube, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I've lost my monetization. But I don't want to re-lose it if you go back if we get more. Okay, sorry, I think I forgot to say what I was doing. So this was Cold Grey 6. So now we're pressing a little bit harder in this area. I'm rotating between the burnt umber, Cold Grey 6, and the Polychromo Black. The Polychromo Black is to add the depth and the darkness. The burnt umber is to give the kind of meat to what we're doing. So I'm just pushing in around the back. And we're just copying, you're just looking at the reference. I might move her reference to over here. Actually, I'll fold it a little bit for you guys. Okay, so we're now working on her butt. So we're working on this section here. It's a bit forward. Doing my best here. Alright. So we're just working on her butt. What are you doing? Playing with the chair. Of course you are.
Yeah. If you want to change the meal prep.
Yeah, it's all over the place. That's my YouTube's down to like 300 subscribers or something. It used to be a few thousand a few years ago. Yeah, it's just because I physically just haven't had the time to. It's very low on my to-do list. Yeah, very low on my to-do list to maintain my YouTube channel at the moment. I've just got way too much going on the go. Got commissions on the go, got artworks on the go, got projects on the go, got kids on the go, orders to fulfill, maintaining a web page. Yeah, crazy times. So YouTube's on the low end of
could be
priorities, so that's why it's jumping around a fair bit. But it's another reason I'm organising it into playlists, so it is hopefully a bit easier for people to navigate. Okay, so this is the Cold Grey 6. So like I said before, I'm swapping between these different colours. Yeah, maybe Daddy, when you get a chance, she needs to go to bed. She's just putting her head down and...
Trying to get her to bed is like having a Facebook argument.
We will see.
Try your best, but just, you can't logic your way out of it.
Alright. After this stream, I'll try and get her to bed. So we'll get as much done as we can. So I'm going to fill more of her back in. Oh my goodness. Can you stop with that chair,
Do your
please?
best to shit on you in the end.
Okay. Pushing this up.
Yeah. Strut around. I think they won anyway.
Alright, pushing this out. Pushing up. Yep, so again, we're still just rotating between the different things. Now, it's still not... Oh, Emily. It's still not fully burnished at the moment. You can see the scratches. Oh my gosh. Enough, girl. Alright, so we're going to get the lighter colour.
I made it.
Pressing pretty firmly because I'm trying to burnish this bit now.
This is a glorious day. Now to finish this dude off.
Oh, can you not eat the tissue, please? Gross. I don't even know whose tissue that is. Okay. So what I was gonna... I think my trail of thought got lost for a second there. So now what I'm going to do... You can see the graininess that's here. That's because the tooth is not completely filled in. So what I'm now going to do is start filling the tooth in, but by alternating different colours. So the colours I'm going to be alternating between are the three different greys. We've got the Cold Grey 6. Can you not, girl?
Well, I could.
So we've got the Cold Grey 6, the Warm Grey 2, and... Oh, sorry, not the three greys, and the two different browns. So by alternating between those different colours, you're not going to have like a matte finish, and it's going to look a bit more like a grey. So at the moment, it's the Cold Grey 6 I'm using. I'm going up and down, all the way around the butt, using flicking motions on areas where I'm coming into contact with light sections, like up around this section and down here. But where it's dark, I'm going like kind of, you know, dark. Where it's dark, where it's already dark, I don't need to worry about flicking motions. I can do the zigzag.
So if we log back on...
Okay, so we do the up-down motions here.
Is David anything going to, like, finish this?
Then up and down here. So I'm just kind of doing zigzags because it's all dark. Where the debossed lines here are, I'm going to fill that in with the greys. Hang on, she has a pen. Oh, here we go. Come on. The baby had a pen in her hand and she's near a wall. That's never a good sign. Okay, let's get back to this. Alright, so flicking motions, little flicks. So yeah. We'll keep getting through this. And then yeah, so once we get up to the lighter sections, you flick. Do flicking motions for the fur. And make it kind of, like, sort of go in the same direction, but it's still a bit random. Now we're going to burnish again. So again, I'm using very firm pressure, but I'm sort of moving the pencil all the way around here. Oh yeah, she can be an artist, that's totally fine, just not on the wall.
Are you doing the dig around?
Because she's still like, she's walking, but she's holding onto stuff to walk. So I turned around and she was holding onto the wall, but her other hand had a pen. And I was like, no, you don't. Alright, so I'm pressing pretty hard now. But doing that zigzag motion of where I'm pressing hard is what hopefully gives the variability. And then the final layer, well, one of the final layers will be, I'll do probably the brown ochre, just to add a bit of warmth again into it, glaze over it. And then I'll put a bit more flicks of, say, the Prismacolor Black, because the Prismacolor Black is going to go over it.
Is that it?
I'm wondering if it's worth me... it's one of those things, I don't have the time. I could re-record the tutorial, like redraw her and do it not live. wait until
you gotta build a
I'm
car.
alone
You gotta get the car going.
and we don't have all these distractions. But again, that's probably pretty low on the priority list.
That's your first fairy, car.
Yeah, it's easier for me to do it live, and then I can come back later if I get time to do it. If it was a paid tutorial, I would definitely be like actually probably asking Ben to take the kids out for the day or something, or at least for the afternoon. Like I'd actually ask him to take them out so I could guarantee I actually have quiet in the house to do it, because it's not fair if someone's paying to have all these interruptions everywhere. And she's still going. Alrighty, so I'm using the Prismacolor Black now, doing these zigzags, but they're more flicks. I'm not doing as much zigzagging as what I was doing with the greys. I'll do a bit more down around the butt here, but so I'll just remove that so you can see that's what she looks like now. That's what the drawing now looks like. Okay, we're going to work a bit up here now, so we're going to get the orange glaze very, very lightly just in the middle of her body. This is just going to be a really subtle colour shift that you'll barely notice. Down here we're going to put it in as well. Orange glaze is one of those colours that you can use quite a fair bit very subtly, and then you layer in other colours and you barely notice it's even gone in. But it's fantastic like that. This one as well is also good for that. So this is Caput Mortem Violet. And it's kind of like, this might sound gross, but it's like the colour of dried blood. It's like a browny red sort of colour.
Just in case.
And then we push that down. So now I'm just filling in around her main part of her body. Pushing up here. So here is going to be a lot softer. I didn't actually do much of the scratching and debossing around here. And then she's found an old Nintendo 64 controller, which I don't even know why it's out here. Yeah, someone might be trying to set something up. Okay, so up here where we left that blank, so her back arcs around like this.
Except 4 trophies.
So now I'm just doing very light little flicks around here.
Not even.
And then, yeah, very, very lightly. So down here is going to be a bit darker.
Yeah, like when you have.
So now I've still got the Caput Mortem Violet, but this time I'm pressing a bit like medium sort of pressure. And I'm just, you follow the reference. So anywhere you see these darker areas, like here, 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 you go a little bit darker. If you've done debossing, you fill in just in between those debossed lines. You jump around a bit. So when you go from say this area to say this area, so here to here, you still have your pencil touching the paper, but when it moves from one area to another, it's very light pressure to barely even noticing it. And then when you are in the area that you want to get to, you're pressing a little bit firmer, but still not super firm. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be mixing this in with the burnt umber in just a moment. But for now, I'm using the Caput Mortem just to add that kind of a violet ready sort of tinge to this section. So here,
I killed a bunch.
You go down here. What are you doing, girl? And then down here. And then, yeah, there's just lots of this sort of thing. So we're at the 2-hour mark. I'm hoping this has helped people a little bit. So I'm hoping this can still count. Hoping this can still count as a tutorial, because I was explaining what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and all that kind of business. What I can do, I can try for another night or another day, or I can do it off camera. So what I might do is when we'll finish up, and I'll give people the option to vote. Do they want to see another session over the weekend live where I continue talking you through what I'm doing? Or would you prefer me to just do it off camera and then it magically just appears on Monday all finished? So I'll let you guys let me know, because I've got to get that very stubborn baby to bed. And my wrist, I normally shouldn't be drawing in more than 2-hour stints anyway because of my de Quervains. So I need to have a break anyway. But yeah, let me know what you think. I would like to think we've got a fair bit done, and hopefully if I did do a new session where I'm talking you through stuff, hopefully I have a child with me that is actually cooperating a little bit better. So, yeah, let me know what you think. So at the moment I'm just moving around here with the kaput mortar, and we're just filling in the blanks.
Oh, we need more color.
This is the Polychromo. So this area that we were leaving blank, I'm now going to push down a little bit. Just push down her little whiskers here. And we're still going. Yeah, I see what people... yeah. There's a part of me that's like, because I guess like my opinion really is, like, I've seen some people get really stressed or they get really angry if they get interruptions or whatever, but the way I see it, I'm like, you know, I don't want to, you know, on the one hand I want the thing to run smoothly, but on the other hand it's like, it is what it is. That's the whole thing of when you have a baby in the picture. Yeah, so plus I'm doing this for free for you guys. Like I said, I would put a lot more things. I would put a lot more things in place if it was paid. I'd be probably more guaranteeing that I wouldn't have interruptions a lot better. I think this time I was just hoping that she would just go to sleep and we would be able to have a free evening. Can't always have what we want. But yeah. It's glad that people don't really mind the interruptions. I think the people who follow me for a while now, you're aware of my family situation where, you know, I have kids. That's the reality. I have kids.
Oh, I had trouble, yeah.
Okay, so we go through here. I'm just using the burnt umber now to kind of flick in. I'm still leaving this gap a little bit there because I still want it to be mostly sort of free there. Yeah. I don't know, like, there's some people who follow people on whether it's whatever social media platform, and it's like they've all got these picture perfect lives, which you know is just for in front of the camera. Whereas, and I'm sure they get stressed and do extra takes if the kids interrupt them or whatever. Whereas for me, it's like you guys are watching me and you're hearing my kids in the background. You're hearing some nights where I'm like, yay, they went to bed, and then other nights like tonight where I'm like, she wants to join in. But, you know, it is what it is. I feel as though you're less stressed if you just show your authentic self anyway. You're not trying to put some sort of mask on or image on, and then you're not worried about like what people think, because it's kind of like, oh well, that is just who I am. So yeah, it is what it is. Not legal to gag them. Yeah, definitely. However, I'm like, my stepmom hates us doing it, but I swear every parent or aunt and uncle has done this when the child is, or the baby's crying and you do that to their lips. You know, especially if you're really low in a low mental state because your baby's just been screaming constantly. It does, for some reason, just put that little smile on your face where they go, ah, wah, 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 wah. Alright, so I'm just swapping to the grey now. But yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll leave it for people to decide. There's still a little bit more to do, but you can see we've done quite a lot. But we still have to do her legs. We still have to do the rest of her body. We've done the base. Most of the base layers have gone in. But I'll leave it to other people to decide. Would you like me to run another session one of the weekend nights where hopefully both kids are down? Or are you happy for me to upload this as the tutorial, and
that's what I was using.
She just magically is finished on Monday? Yeah, I'll leave that for people to decide. But yeah, so we'll call it a night, because I do, like I said before, I do need to break. I really shouldn't be pushing my wrist any further than I have. But thank you so much for watching. I hope my daughter entertains you. I mean, yeah, let's be honest. It is what it is.
I guess.
Anyway, good night, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for your patience. All the best. Good night.
I don't think you need many.